Hi, my friend, it's Pat Sloan here. Oh, it is the fun day where at the end here I will show you switching out the quilts for the green, which was a lot of fun. But we're going to talk about some other things first. One, it is, it's Color of the Month Day, which it has to be green. This is March. It has to be green. Green not only just for St. Patrick's Day, but I think green for the sort of spring is coming and things will start popping up. Actually, I have tiny mini little daffodils. I think these little mini daffodils. I have a group of them that must be like early bloomers. Plus, they're near my cement front porch, so I think that they might get maybe some extra protection and maybe a little heat, so that, you know, a little warmth. So they actually come up very early. I've got like this much stem up already. No buds yet because, you know, we could get much more, you know, cold, and lots of cold here in March still. But today is your day to share your green quilts, and of course I'll be showing you mine here towards the end. It is also dress day, so if you have quilts with a dress, a dress fabric, a dress on them, share those. It'll be a lot of fun. And it's Oreo cookie day. I read back when COVID hit, and you know, a lot of people were, you know, having some extra time, and then they were also bored or anxious or whatever. And apparently Oreo cookies were a comfort food for a lot of people, and we were included in that. Although we didn't do it right away because with my wrist broken, I couldn't hold anything for months. So it was a little bit later that I kind of jumped into buying some Oreo cookies. So if you have a quilt with Oreo cookie fabric or Oreo cookies applique, a piece, maybe you get a paper piece pattern for Oreo cookies, share that today. The other thing, which the title of this video also said, was that we are going to talk about those 5 steps to your roadmap for organization. When I was doing in January and February all this massive amount of organization for me personally with my stuff, my quilting stuff, and I did a little roadmap for myself, and many of you were interested in doing that kind of thing for yourself. Mine wouldn't make any sense for you because this is a personal thing. When you do a roadmap, it's personal to what your products are that you have, what your items are that you save and you own. So I'm going to give you those 5 steps to take you through how to build your own roadmap. And I have a 2-page handout because, as you know, I talk and I'm wordy. And I also like to write. So there you go. You've got a 2-pager. And I'm going to segment, and I'll just pop up each of the points and talk about it a little bit here. All right, the first one. Well, first of all, it's not the 5 points. There's kind of like a little overview sentence because you need to look around your space and decide what area and how much area do you have to work with. Do you just have one room or one corner of a room, like a corner of your bedroom? Maybe you just have the kitchen table that you actually have to clear off and use afterwards. Or maybe you have an entire basement available to you. Maybe it's multiple rooms. You have a main room and maybe a spare bedroom, and then maybe you have a closet in another bedroom, or you have boxes under the bed, or you have things in the basement, the attic, the garage. You need to identify all of those places, and will you still use all of those places? And what is your main place? What is your primary area you work in? Because that is important. It's important to what you put there because it needs to be what you use all the time. You don't want to be storing your batting that you don't use every day in your main work area if you don't have to. Okay, so that's your first thing you do, is identify what space you have. Next is the all-important fabric, because quilts are made with fabric. Many of us, I dare say most of us, have a collection of fabric. You might have a small collection, you might have a large collection, but most of us have more fabric than is just the project we are working on, because that, like, having fabric is one hobby, using the fabric is another hobby. They're two different hobbies, but we as quilt makers combine them. So you need to have your fabric out so that you can see what you have. What do you have? What do you use all the time? Is there fabric that maybe you can, if you have an auxiliary area or a less, like maybe you only have one space but you have high up storage, what will you put where you don't need it very often? That might be your holiday fabrics or backings, because you're not going to be grabbing a backing every other day. You're going to probably look for it, once every maybe month, something like that. So sort of identify what you have. Okay, the next one. Here is projects, and we've talked about this a zillion million times. Projects you have, what you're currently working on, and that might mean to you working on in the last 3 weeks, the last month. If it's more than 6 months and you have not worked on it, it's not in this category. You're not currently working on it if you haven't touched it in 6 months. Okay, things that you have not worked on, in 6 months or more. Those are category. Then you might have fabric. So you have two categories now: working, not working. They're in progress. You've started to sew on them. You're either working on them or you're not working on them. And then you have fabric that you've gathered and a pattern, or maybe even just the fabric, and you want to make something with it. So that's kind of like an unstarted project. And there shouldn't be any other category. That's how the three of these should be. 1, 2, 3. You got 3. Okay, the next thing is notions, tools, all of the kind of supplies that go around. There might be things that, so first of all, you need everything you use all the time. Your rulers you use all the time, rotary cutters, the threads that you're using all the time, pens, your cutting mat. If you're a huge AccuQuilt person and you AccuQuilt everything, with the die cut machine, then that would be in your primary area. But a lot of people don't. They just use it periodically, so that might not be in your primary area. Okay, then you look at bulky things, your extra sewing machines that you might use just for travel or because you collect them. You might have your big batting. Again, your AccuQuilt might be something you don't use that often, so you don't want it in your primary area. Your large rulers that you may not use all the time, or specialty things. There's lots of other smaller notions that you don't use very often. Your ironing clean-off goop, extra sewing needles, extra specialty rulers, all those kind of things that you don't really use that often. Then you might have another category. There is your other crafts. You might have cross stitch, you might have yarn, you might have paint. Those are all things that if you are actively using them, will you want them in your primary work area? Because I have a friend who does all of these things. They all have to have spaces within her primary work area. But you might only use yarn maybe once a year. You make one project. So maybe you don't need it in your primary area. Okay, 2 more categories. Category number 4 is your books and patterns. Books and patterns will be books you want to keep. You already know you want to keep them. Books that you are kind of done with. You've used something in it. You don't see anything in it that you want to reference, so it needs to find a new home. Then you have patterns that you have used but you do not intend to use anymore. Find a new home. And patterns you still love, whether you're going to sew them or not, you just want to own them and you love them. I have lots and lots of those. And then patterns that you own, you haven't made, but you're pretty sure you never want to really spend any of your time on them, and you don't really feel a need anymore to own it as a collector item. So those are things you break your books and your patterns into. And lastly, number 5 for the categories will be the quilts you're going to keep, the quilts that you own for yourself. You're not giving them away, you're decorating with them, you're using them, whatever. The quilts you want to finish, they're tops or they need binding put on them, you have that stack. And then you have quilts that will go to a new home, whether they're because you've used them or enjoyed them and you no longer want to have them, or you made them specifically for somebody else. Those are the 5 categories. What I want you to take a look at that. The document has both pages, but I will do the second page on another day when we kind of talk about how to put in motion reorganizing. Next week we'll talk about that. So look at these items on this 5-step roadmap and take a view around your space. See what you have. Okay, now I'm going to show you getting ready to change the quilts first. Let's go. Looking down here, now this should go a lot faster since I'm already organized by color and I do not have to sort and do all this like last time, because that took so long to do everything. Like pull it all out, sort of. I don't have to do all that. All I have to do this time is get the green, which are primarily, this is primarily what I've put as green. So we're going to see how this system works. Now what I have is a couple of shelves where I've just stored some empty containers. I mean, these are empty, but the quilts that are on the wall, the pinks, will probably come here, or I might actually, yeah, here and there, over there. I have to see how big a stack it is, because I can put a couple things up here. Yeah, okay, so I don't want to put anything in the green. This is the idea. Nothing goes in these, because when I take the green down, it'll go back into its slot. All right, let's see how this works. So just before I start, I'll tell you that the first thing I'll do is I will just pull all of the, no, I think I'm going to get all the green out. What do I want to do? Get the green out first or pull it all down? I'm going to pull it all down, so I'm going to make that happen. Okay, I'm back over here for a second. Well, the reason I'm going to pull it all down is because something has to go up here. I don't want to leave the red. Like, I know I have a table mat, and I'll find something. If I can't find green exactly, I have other kind of little springy things. So definitely the first thing I want to do is take everything down. Okay, I decided just to pull these out first. I moved the tray over there because as I fold the red, I want to put it over there on the shelf. So I'll keep all the smaller things for the top. That's what I did here, like the small items, So that's there we go. Okay, we're off and running. I've placed a bunch of the things out, and now they all have to get ironed. Lots of ironing, and then I can get them hung up. Getting ready to press the flower bouquet, which will go over the couch, and I wanted to show you the quilting my friend Cindy did. Big swirls, bubbles, leaves. See that? You can see it on there. And then she did a more custom piece out on the border. You can see the swirls and things in there. It just really looks good. I've hung this one a lot because it's a good transition piece for this month. I don't have something else that works very well for that space, but this does, and I really love it. This little banner was from my Tour of Ireland book, but I'm not hanging it because it reads very blue with the blue border. But I did want to show you that when on this trip, all the guests on the tour signed a piece of fabric for me, which I then used for the backing. So this is definitely in my long-term keep. And look what arrived while I'm decorating. My tiny secret. Look down there. Do you see mushrooms? This will be in the stores soon. Not yet, but soon. So excited. And getting them all out and getting everything down, it was still a bit of a process, but it was so much easier now that I have them sorted and categorized. So this is my first month with that ever, because normally I'd have to go all over the place to find things. All right, let's see how it looks. First of all, I have to show you, this is all that I didn't put out, which I think is amazing. Having it all by groups of how I'll store it. This is one from my, I'm not going to pull them all out, but this is one that was in my book, the Irish coffee, my Tour of Ireland book, and we went to a place that had Irish coffee, and it was so fun. And of course, and the bus was there at like, I don't know, 10 in the morning, and we're all having Irish coffee at 10 in the morning, which was really, really fun. One Irish coffee is not going to kill you. 10 in the morning. As I mentioned, I did not take the tulips down. I'm going to enjoy them for a little while longer. Hey, it's going to be spring. We're going to have tulips. There's Greg's radio. There's always a radio in our house somewhere. Always. This is a week rose that I did a series in my Take the Fear Out of Color where I did this in multiple colors. I had this a lot for all of my lectures and for classes just to show the block done different ways, and it works really well for this month. Okay, switching out to the wearing of the green. And not everything will be green because I don't have that much green. But here we'll start with something very green. This was one of the quilt alongs we did. It's from the Mini Muffin free pattern from the Fat Quarter Shop, and I made them into, I think I just did some alteration here. Instead of doing 4, there might be like 4 of these. Instead I just changed this into a stem. On my tray I've got just a few You Are My Lucky Charm. Yes. Just a few little Irish type things. Our last name Sloan is from an Irishman very long time ago in Greg's family. This is a runner that is just strips. It's great for playing with color, just to add a little bit of color. Then I used it actually in my machine quilting book to have you practice stitches. Each one you could build and then practice different kind of stitches on it. I have a little lucky horseshoe. Okay, and over here, this was in a magazine that I did for, I think probably from McCall's. May your home always be too small to hold all your friends. That's what the saying is. And it was only published in the magazine. And that was using one of my older fabric lines from years ago. And I just went very simple for right now. I will bring out Easter things later, but I've got these little houses, which I put little tea lights in. I think the batteries are all dead on my tea lights. But if you turn the batteries, put the batteries back in, and then I always just wrap a piece of fabric around the base here to give it color. This piece was, I didn't write who the designer was. Linda Braddock, Jan Paytek, Red Wagon, one of those family of things done many years ago. I was doing this right after my sweet Labrador Brandy passed away, and so it was kind of a tribute quilt for her, to her, with favorite things. And I put some dog fabric on there and a note to myself. And then of course she was a girl dog, so I made it pink up here because I thought that would be sweet. And this fabric here is one of my all-time favorites. It was by Kona Bay. So for those of you who are familiar with Kona Bay, who they went out of business years ago, but I did work for Kona Bay, making them samples for their fabric lines to take to the trade show and hang in their booth. So I had lots of their fabric. Okay, here we go. Now, again, sort of simple because I actually do not have a lot of pillows. This is, I have like 2 pillows for green. I'd have to make some more. I decided to put this, I think I made this one last year, maybe, and I've got this new dough, it's a reproduction, it's a dough bowl, like, bread dough. There's antique ones, of course, would be like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, that where people use them to knead the dough, the bread dough in, but then there's reproductions. And this one, I wanted to get a light colored one, and so I just got a reproduction thing, and it's very inexpensive. This was not very deep. I don't know if they regularly are deep. And then I want to added in some shamrocks, but I might make little things to put in there. Okay, I've got the squares with one of the greens that I did, and I have my favorite binding of all time on here, which is green leopard print. I had a quilt shop owner friend who said that everybody needs some leopard print, and she carried leopard print in all colors. Any color that came out, she bought it. So her store had like a fabulous selection. She was in Texas. She closed her business. She doesn't have her business anymore. But I bought that when I was teaching for her. This flower bouquet. And then over here, I just have a few little things. I have the shamrock runner that we did as a quilt along. And then this is a Harrisonburg block that I did in my fabric line in the green. Okay. And then over here, now the library quilt is beautifully matched in the greens. This is a very old quilt that I did. It was on the cover of a leisure arts book, I think. It's just kind of squares on point, but this beautiful big green floral just makes it. I don't know, someday we should probably do that together. I should probably make something that, a pattern for that. Okay, next is just a few little pieces I like to hang under here. One for March, and then this is more like a coaster, but it's fun to do. My friend Jane did this design for us when we did the Splendid Sampler, and it's still out there. And hold on, let me turn the light on. This is on the front door, and I've had it on my front door for, this is maybe like the 3rd year. Just, it was some scrappy block. I've left like a leftover block and then some other leftovers that I just expanded it out to make it big enough. I really need to do something else. I love the green banner pattern in the banner box kit, but I just did not get a chance to make it. It just did not fit in my schedule. And then on this Tall Skinny is on the cover of my Tour of Ireland book, and I just love it so much. And I did, this was Birdsong. We did this as a quilt along. It fits so nicely up here. And I don't really have anything to put here, so I thought I'd put the pineapple, which at least has a green top on it. So you do what you have to do, right? So let's just take one other look back here. There we go. And over into, and it feels very springy. I feel it's very, very fresh, and I'm just really excited to have it all changed out. Ta-da! There it is. There it is. I'm very happy. This is always the month where I've like maybe 2 times where I change them out, where it's like the colors are not quite as cohesive as I'd like, but this year I think they're better than other times for this month because of a few additional pieces. And this is the project that I want to do so that I have it probably for next year. Probably won't do it this year, but it's super cute. Super cute. What I'd like you to do is tell me if this is interesting to you. Tell me if you've ever done anything like this in the comments. Tell me if you plan to use something like this to create your categories and work through your items to figure things out. Just give me some feedback. All right, my friend, I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.